Boom. Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about the bulls versus the bears. We are seeing a lot of volatility in the cryptocurrency sector right now. Very hot and cold, but as I'm sure most of you guys can assume, I remain a bull. So let's get into why that is. As always, we'll quickly go over each topic we're going to be discussing, and then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, where we will be spending all of our time today, keeping it strictly technical, talking price action, price targets on the following names today in this order, going down the watch list. Kicking it off with, you guys know the drill, the king of the crypto markets, Bitcoin. So of course, we are going to be covering Bitcoin miners in this video, but Bitcoin will ultimately impact the general direction of the majority of cryptocurrencies and crypto related stocks. So we got to kick it off with the king. And although we have been seeing some crazy price action, again, a lot of volatility over the past few days. You're bullish one day, you're bearish the next. I remain bullish, and again, I will go on to explain to you guys why that is when we get into the charts. Have a few patterns I'm looking at. So we'll get into that, kick it off with Bitcoin. We will then move into the DXY, or US dollar index. This is US dollar weighted against a basket of other international fiat currencies. It just shows the general strength of the dollar. And the reason that I want to bring this up is because this has been one of my fundamental cases for Bitcoin from a bullish perspective, and my bear case for the dollar. So although the dollar has popped, as many of these assets have gone sideways and corrected, just keep in mind, you guys, everything that trades against the dollar will usually be inversely correlated with the dollar. So if the dollar goes up, almost everything else goes down, and if the dollar goes down, it's vice versa, everything else goes up, especially inflation hedge assets, the king of inflation hedge assets, in my opinion, and that is Bitcoin. Okay, so we'll touch on the dollar. I'll let you guys know why I'm actually technically bearish on the dollar, and then after we establish kind of that fundamental base case for my bullish sentiment, at least for Bitcoin, we will move into our good old Bitcoin mining stocks, Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital Holdings, both having a super rough day, but the technicals actually look pretty good right now. And again, we will get into why that is after we dive into the charts. As always, though, before we do get into it, I will ask you guys to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it today, or if you are investing or trading any of the assets we're talking about. If you guys are bullish on Bitcoin like I am, in the short, again, you guys, I'm short-term bullish. I'll let you guys know why that is, even though it may be difficult to kind of wrap your head around that given the past few days of price action. I remain bullish. If you guys are bullish, please give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to catch more content like this. Always pumping out the crypto content. And again, the more bullish we get, the more excited I'm going to be to put out videos. Regardless, I put out a daily, at least 5 videos a week for you guys. So subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to join the Waves fam. And of course, check out my complete portfolio daily newsletter. First link down in the description. That is $15 a month. If you want the following, a complete breakdown of my entire portfolio, call options, put options, stock positions, cryptocurrency positions. You guys know the deal, that I do update every single trading day during market hours. And along with every update, I send out an email newsletter explaining my thoughts, new trades, old trades, why I'm taking on a trade, throw some charts in there, throw some analyses in there, as well as whatever I'm feeling at the time of trading during actual market hours. So again, really means a lot if you guys check that out. $15 a month, once again, first link down below. But if not, no worries at all. Appreciate you watching. Now let's dive into these charts. So Bitcoin, have a few things to cover here. Bitcoin, after we broke out, let's start with kind of the breakout, okay, that happened on March 28th, 29th. Bitcoin, since its high back in early March, around 62K, was in this downtrend. Again, seeing a lot of volatility here, and I will let you guys know what these little curves are. I'm sure many of you guys can guess what that is, but this also supplements to why I think what's going to play out is going to play out. Okay, so again, March 28th, March 29th, we did technically break out of this downtrend beginning in mid-March. Okay, we were in a downtrend, technical downtrend, lower highs, lower lows. Again, classic downtrend, but at the end of March, we did break out of it. You see, we popped back up, came down, used previous resistance, TA 101, previous resistance acts as new support, came up, tested it once again, and in my opinion, I'm actually betting on the fact, I think it's more likely than not, that we do ultimately come down to use this line that was once resistance as new support one more time prior to resuming the rally. Because actually, the 4-hour Stokes are curling up right now. That's a pretty bullish indicator that maybe a lot of traders were looking at this. You get a little game theoretical, play the game theory. You know people are going to be waiting for this and waiting to buy here. So we may have jumped the gun. The 4-hour Stokes are curling up. That is a technically bullish sign. This is probably my single favorite indicator when it comes to determining general trend direction. So I always love to see that good old blue crossing over good old red. I mean, again, that's a very bullish technical indicator. Honestly, one of the only ones I use aside from trend lines. So that's bullish right there. Maybe we did see a bottom. Maybe we did bottom out at about 55K, because once again, so many traders are eyeballing this trend line, this previous line of resistance that has acted as new support and may once again act as new support. So maybe we reverse right now, but I think worst case, obviously this isn't worst case scenario, but I think there is definitely a decent chance that we ultimately come down here, test this line as support once again. This would also complete the head and shoulders pattern, the inverse head and shoulders pattern. I'm sorry. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with the head and shoulders pattern, but this is an inverse one. Therefore, it is going to be the opposite. So if you want to get opposite, right shoulder, head, and then left shoulder, if this plays out, if we do come down here, this would almost line up perfectly if just draw these like this area right here. If we come over here to test this lower trend line, it wouldn't quite take us there. Even if we move this up a little bit, discounting some of the just extended candles. If we go to this area where there was a lot of closures, you see a lot more time spent in this area as we go up here. That would take us almost perfectly to test this line of support. Okay, so that would perfectly complete almost this head and shoulders again. Right shoulder because it's inverse, head, left shoulder, a little more extended, but that's how head and shoulders play out sometimes. It would make sense that we would ultimately come up to ultimately play out that inverse head and shoulders, which would take us to that previous all-time high, just under 62K. The one barrier, if we do pop, though, is going to be this line of resistance on the short-term downtrend beginning on April 1st. Again, had that little April rally. April Fools, we're seeing another short-term correction. It happens, you guys. That's the game, but it's all right. That said, again, if we do come here or if we reverse right now, it's very likely to me that we will definitely see some sense of resistance around this, obviously, line of resistance on the short-term downtrend. So we would need to break at this point, say like by April 8th, which is tomorrow, April 8th, April 9th. If we break above $59,000, super, just to play it safe, if we break above 60, that will confirm to me that we are in a breakout. We are on our way back up, and it's super likely that we do resolve, or we do resolve this head and shoulders pattern as a successful head and shoulders pattern. Again, you guys, I definitely see an inverse head and shoulders here. You guys know the markets. You guys know how they work. Nothing's guaranteed, but it would make sense to me if we come up. We will likely see some resistance here, ultimately break through it to play out the head and shoulders, probably set a new all-time high because we are in breakout mode. And as I've been saying for the past few days, you guys, or like it's just a general rule of trading, once a new all-time high is set, that triggers that hyper bullish sentiment, and that's what I believe will ultimately happen. And then once we break out of that, once we set a new all-time high, the bulls are back in play. I think we will ultimately come up to test the overall trend line that I've been talking about. That's been drawn here for months now. We will ultimately come up to test the line of resistance on the overall uptrend, which if we hit it, just again, it's all dependent on where these price target, when the lines of resistance are met to determine price targets. So just where I happen to draw this price target, just because that angle looks just kind of intuitively correct to me. Again, this could be completely wrong, but it's all dependent on when this trend line hits. If it is hit on April 21st, that would take us to an $81,000 Bitcoin. Conservative price target by April 21st would be 80K, but maybe we hit it April 15th, okay? So in like a week from now, that would take us to 79K. So roughly $80,000 is my price target for Bitcoin. Maybe we pop up, maybe we go parabolic, come down a little bit, take a little longer to test this line of resistance, but I do ultimately think at some point we will test this line of resistance and reach a significant new all-time high for Bitcoin, which is obviously exciting. So speaking of the opposite of Bitcoin, again, the reason that I've been so bullish on Bitcoin since the government started printing trillions of dollars almost a year ago now is the dollar, or the DXY. Once again, the US dollar weighted against a basket of international fiat currencies weighs the general global strength of the dollar, and the dollar is not looking good. So again, this, you guys, this is one of my great arguments. Like my just as a kind of a macro, I come from a macro background, so I do involve myself in so many different markets, and the dollar is at the base of all macroeconomic trading for the most part. Okay, because once again, almost everything trades against the US dollar. Therefore, if it trades against the dollar and the dollar is going up, it's likely that those assets will fall, which again is pretty much everything, especially inflation hedges and the king of them, like Bitcoin. So the dollar, you see, this was an uptrend, perfectly tested this line of resistance right here on March 30th, which I was expecting actually for a while now. So tested this on March 30th, came to a high of almost $93.50 or 93.5, 93.5. Now that we've tested that, and now that we actually broke the line of resistance significantly on this uptrend beginning February 25th, you can see right here, nice wedge pattern, ascending wedge, broke to the downside after it tested resistance on that longer term uptrend. Now we're actually in a megaphone pattern though, right? So megaphone pattern, I'm sure all of you guys know why it's called a megaphone pattern. You can see this guy, the line of resistance up here. This is a line of support. And in my opinion, because again, money just keeps being printed. It doesn't make, like, inflation is still a very real and very obvious argument in my mind. So it makes sense to me that the dollar is going to continue its downtrend. You can see right here as it's been climbing down, you see this little bounce up over the past couple of days, which again is a big reason that Bitcoin, gold, many of these assets are seeing a little pullback, is because the dollar has bounced over the past couple of days, but it did bounce to perfectly test this previous high set here. The initial high before that last rally to test resistance. So we came up, you can see here, it perfectly bounced off of this, just right, like, even like the ends of these candles perfectly tested each other, and I think the dollar is on its way back down. So I don't know how long this is going to take, you guys. Again, the dollar is not the most volatile asset, but I do think that, again, if we span this out, just say April 21st, which was Bitcoin's price target, that would take us to a sub $90 dollar if we play out this megaphone pattern. You can see maybe a head and shoulder is going to play out right now. Left shoulder, head, maybe come down here, go sideways a little bit, come back up, come back down. But ultimately, I do think this megaphone pattern will be played out. And of course, the longer it takes for this to play out, the lower price target I'm going to have for the dollar. But again, you guys, I love the US. I love this country. I feel fortunate and blessed to live here. But unfortunately, the dollar is being printed out the wazoo. The money printer is still going burr. And that means the dollar is likely to continue to be in a downtrend and continue to be weaker and weaker, which makes assets like Bitcoin stronger, and Bitcoin miners, which are the amplified versions of Bitcoin, that much stronger as well. So we're kicking it off with Riot today. We're closed out with Mara. Riot is perfectly like Riot the Rocket, good old Riot the Rocky. So Riot is in this perfect, like, textbook symmetrical wedge pattern. You can see this parabolic move up right here, followed by again, such crazy volatility, you guys, from this high back in mid-February at almost $80 to a low of $34, so over a 50% correction, bouncing back up, coming back down. We're printing what is just, again, a beautiful symmetrical wedge. And as I've been saying, you guys, symmetrical wedges will far more often than not resolve themselves in the general direction of the overall trend. So Riot, none of us can dispute the fact that Riot is a ripper. Riot's a rocket ship, and it is definitely in an overall uptrend. So I think it's very likely that this does resolve itself to the upside. This will likely be resolved because it's very rare it goes to the actual tip. I think it's going to be resolved probably by next week, because I do think that Bitcoin by next week is going to be looking pretty strong. Maybe Bitcoin comes down like tomorrow, or tomorrow, Thursday, tomorrow or Friday, picks back up over the weekend, and then really gains steam as we head into next week. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Again, you guys, maybe it takes longer, maybe it happens faster even, but just giving you guys what I feel just intuitively I'm thinking. So take all this with a grain of salt, because this is ultimately speculation, which is very important to make clear to you guys. Okay, so Riot currently sitting directly on top of this line of support again since this big rally up we saw way back in late January. Definite line of support here. You can see we broke, but almost immediately got eaten back up and actually closed this 4 hour above this line. So I wouldn't even consider this a break of this line of support. So be careful for fake outs, you guys. We've seen so many fake outs in this market, especially in the crypto markets. So even if we do break below this, I mean, it's definitely sketchy, but I'm personally not getting scared. It's understandable to get scared, and maybe that is a bad sign, but unless we close a daily, unless we close a 4 hour, close multiple 4 hours and a daily probably below this line of support on this overall uptrend, maybe I'd flip bearish in that case. But because Bitcoin's looking pretty good right now, it definitely makes sense to me that Riot and Mara are going to pop tomorrow, and Riot is, again, bounced perfectly off this line of support. It's up a little bit in after hours, and that gives me that makes me personally bullish, and I think ultimately we will maybe come up to test this line of resistance on the current downtrend since Riot started its correction in mid-February, which would take us to, say we hit it by the end of the week, April 9th, maybe we bounce right back up. That would take us to $59 per Riot, okay? So come up to $59. If we break out of this, like Mara just did a few days ago, that's very, very bullish, and that's what would lead me to believe that we're definitely back off to the races. And as you guys know, once we break out of this, if Bitcoin does perform as expected, if Bitcoin can reach close to 80K over the next few weeks, then I think it's very, very likely that Riot will ultimately come up April 22nd right here to $100. So we'll finally see. And again, you guys, this is optimistic, but considering we just saw an $80 Riot, the fundamentals continue to strengthen. The stars continue to align for the cryptocurrency market as a whole. And honestly, the technicals look really good. It's kind of hard. Again, it's hard to be bullish. It's hard to stay optimistic when you see a few days of price action, especially if your portfolio is getting hit. Trust me, mine's been getting hit. My money's on everything I'm saying. I bought more Riot, bought more Mar today. Shout out to the portfolio newsletter group, the Discord guys. I'm doubling down, you guys. I'm a shark. When there's blood in the waters, I'm a shark. If I know I have a good thing going, again, I don't know, but if I feel in my gut that we got a good thing going, that the technicals are all stacking up, then I will double down. And if I lose, that's okay. But I'm not just throwing chips on the table. Again, I'm doing my best to rationalize my thoughts for you guys. And I hope it resonates with you, okay? So I not double down, but I definitely added to all my call option and stock positions today. And I am bullish because, again, Riot perfectly bounced off this. That I have no reason to believe that Riot will break below this. And ultimately, I do think we'll at least test the top side of resistance, probably see a little bit of resistance here. But if we can break $60 over the next couple days, we will have officially broken out. That is a technical breakout on the short term. And I do think we're going to be on our way up to ultimately test the elusive, the infamous triple-digit Riot blockchain at $100+. So conservative price target for Riot. Again, maybe it happens sooner. Maybe we go absolutely parabolic over the coming week. April 15th, that would take us to a $96 Riot. So again, as always, guys, keep an eye on these charts for yourself. Draw these trend lines for yourself. If I can do it, as I always say, you can for sure do it, okay? So again, those are my price targets for Riot. If we do break down, though, I want to make this clear as well. So I was looking at this too. So if we do break down, I think it's likely that we could maybe pull out, we could maybe execute a large bull flag pattern, okay? So this is kind of worst case scenario for Riot, in my opinion, just because I'm still so bullish on the fundamentals. I think this, okay, that looks fair right there. So I like the look of that. This would be a bull flag pattern. So parabolic move up followed by a descending triangle. If we do break this support, I think it's pretty likely, in all honesty, that we'll come down to like the $40 to $42 region, bounce back up, and then ultimately resolve the bull flag a little later in the month, which is still great news. It may take some time. Again, if you guys have calls, if you guys have short calls, time is of the essence. But again, if you're holding stock, then and we do break support for some reason, then I wouldn't worry unless we break below, I would say, like $38. If we break $38, even like $40, I'd start to get a little worried. But I do think that if we do break support, worst case scenario, we come down here, play out this bull flag, but ultimately resolve ourselves to the upside to ultimately come back up to test this line of resistance. Because again, you guys, I still think that this wave is for sure still in motion, at least in my opinion, okay? So that is right. Let's close it out with good old Moony Mara. Mara the Moon. So Mara, again, similar to Riot, like the ascending, the symmetrical wedge that we just saw, this large megaphone ascending channel, Mara did break out of this wedge. So you can see here, this is Mara's wedge. It's a little different looking. Riot actually has kind of a cleaner wedge pattern going on, but Mara's still in this wedge, did break out. So this is exactly what I think will ultimately happen with Riot once and if, of course, it does break the line of resistance on the shorter term downtrend since its high back in mid-February. Again, Riot and Mar, two piece in a pod. Also, want to make it very clear, you guys know, these two play catch up. We've been waiting for like the better part of a couple months for Mar to play catch up with Riot. It finally did. Yesterday they were pretty much like eye to eye, but as Mar continues to outperform Riot, I will gradually become more and more bullish on Riot, especially because Riot's market cap is what, like 1.5 to 2 billion, smaller than Mara now, because Mara has more outstanding shares. So keep in mind, you guys, if you want to determine fair value, it's not the share price, it's the market cap. So just keep that in mind. But Mara, like, as far as downside goes, I think it's very likely that Mara will ultimately come down a little bit more to, if we hit it, say we hit it this tomorrow, we come down to maybe like 43.50 is going to be my price target if you want it on the dot. That also intersects with an old school trend line for Mara. So I like seeing just trend lines, even if they're not of the same short like time horizon pattern. I like seeing when those intersect, because all trend lines ultimately do hold a place when you're looking at trend lines. Okay, so if this happens April 9th, they actually perfectly intersect, but April 8th, that would take us to about a $43.50 Mara. I wouldn't be worried if we come down to 43, but at 43, I do think we'll bounce, use previous resistance as new support, because that's just again, TA 101, previous resistance becomes new support, especially when it's such a significant trend line like this was. I think we will bounce off that, and I do think that it's super likely that we'll rip back up again. Volatility, the market is volatile, but if you're on the right side of that volatility, if you're able to embrace volatility, that was one of my OG videos, so always love saying that, you guys, embrace volatility. Although it seems scary, although these past few days, the past 2 days for Mara have been pretty brutal, especially considering we ripped up so hard on Monday following Easter weekend, I remain bullish. I think we're going to bounce even harder off this, and I do think we will ultimately make one more big run all the way up to, if we hit this, let's do April 21st once again. So April 21st price target for Mara is to test this very, very significant, very evident trend line, the overall line of resistance on the greater uptrend over the course of this beautiful megaphone ascending channel. That would take us to, again, on April 22nd, just hypothetically, about $84. Maybe it happens sooner. Maybe we hit it April, like by next week, because we all know how fast things can happen, especially in a bull market. $80, let's do $80 price target for Mara would be April 15th. And again, maybe we come up to like $65, come back down to test 57, and then ultimately come back up maybe by the end of the month, April 30th, to test the line of resistance, which would take us to about $88. Okay, so that's my analysis. You guys, the reason we were talking so much about Riot Mara, I'm sorry if you guys want to talk about other stuff, but I'm just so tunnel vision on these two. It's, the technicals still look good, the fundamentals are there. Bitcoin is still, in my opinion, the king of inflation hedges. There's so much infrastructure being built around Bitcoin. If you guys watched the crypto convo yesterday, and it no way does this feel toppy to me, at least yet. Maybe after this next run, this will be the top, but I still think we got some fuel left in the tank, and I think things can happen super fast, you guys. So just keep that in mind. Stay on your toes. Stay prepared. And let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. So, again, let me know what you guys think about the macro. Let me know what you guys think about Bitcoin miners. If there's any stocks exciting you in the cryptocurrency sector, please share down below, because I always love talking shop with you guys. Always love learning from you guys. So I'll see you downstairs in the comments. And until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.